follow the rules of personal mobility devices and drive safely. This campaign is brought to you by befm 부산영어방송.
보이스피싱에 눈을 뜨시오.
공약미를 대출해드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 근데 수수료를 좀.
보이스피싱 전화 올 땐 전화 끊고 확인하기.
실장님의 계좌가 금융범죄에 연루되었습니다.
기관 사칭 사기 전화 112로 신고하기. 택배 주소 오류 사기 인터넷 주소 클릭한대.
늘 의심하고 꼭 전화 끊고 또 확인하고.
보인다 보여.
수법이
보이는구나.
눈을 뜨면 예방책이 보입니다.
공익광고협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
You know, every generation says things like kids these days. Kids these days aren't like what they used to be. This is purely subjective, but we can say for a fact that we certainly get more coverage on the troubles that young people get themselves into these days, whether it's on the news or on social media. Kids or teens do seem different than in the past, but it's also a different world than, when we were younger, right? Will changing laws and punishing criminal minors fix this? If not, what is the right response to all of these issues? Well, let's delve into this. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Friday, January 26th on befm 부산영어방송. Good morning, everybody. It is that day, Friday. Oh my goodness, is this the last Friday of January already? It is. Well, we've been seeing so many stories about kids and teenagers. Nice way to say it. Acting out is probably the nicest way I can put it, and some of them allegedly committing illegal acts. So we've talked about the teen that sprayed, that's fire extinguisher all over the cars in an apartment parking garage, and then, others that filmed him or watched. The police decided to pass on 2 of the teenagers to juvenile court and 3 boys who are 14 or older to the prosecution for property damage. The Incheon police are investigating a case of 2 kids, including a 12-year-old who took his father's car for a joyride, driving up to 100 kilometers per hour, according to the live stream his 15-year-old friend posted on social media. And of course, there was the shocking case of the attack on lawmaker Bae Hyun-jin by a teenager yesterday. Under the law, however, children under the age of 14 are considered what they call criminal minors, and they cannot be prosecuted under the conventional criminal law. But according to the police, the number of crimes committed by those under the age of 14 is on the rise, from 7,300, that was in 2018, to more than double that number to 16,000 in the year 2022. So those are the latest figures we have. So some may say that this figure warrants lowering the age of criminal responsibility. And the government did try to do that in 2022. So, we'll get to all the sides, to the opposing arguments in a little bit. But for now, let's talk about our role as adults. When you were young, what was the image of an adult or grown-up that you had in your mind, right? And also, what makes someone a good adult, a decent human being, a good grown-up? What would you say? 자, 요즘 진짜 어른이 없다라는 말도 있죠. 내가 어릴 때 생각했던 어른의 모습은 좋은 어른, 진정한 어른 이란 모습이 무엇일까? 대해서 이야기를 나눠보겠습니다. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. Also, pound 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can reach me for free on Kakao Talk or on our app comment board as well. Looking ahead to our morning together, it is Friday, so we have Casey with foreign press highlights. We also have Laura, who's coming in for news feed. In terms of the special interview, you know, this age-old debate, should you have breakfast, should you not, you know, is breakfast the king of meals? You know, for a while, there was this whole kind of, I know, was it a trend or was it always conventional wisdom? Like you should always have breakfast. But I know tons of people who skip breakfast. So let's find out more about this. That's coming up in hour number 2, and I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:05, and it's time for today's headlines. Ruling party lawmaker attacked in Seoul remains in stable condition after treatment. People Power Party lawmaker Representative Bae Hyun-jin sustained a head injury after being attacked by an unidentified assailant yesterday, but remains in stable condition, her office said. Workplace safety law on smaller firms to be implemented tomorrow as scheduled. A law punishing employers for workplace accidents will apply to companies with fewer than 50 employees from tomorrow after rival camps failed to agree on a 2-year extension to the grace period during a plenary session yesterday. Japan to conduct 7 rounds of a release of wastewater from Fukushima plant from April. Japan is set to conduct 7 rounds of discharge of contaminated water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant starting from April, according to the media yesterday. South Korea staggers into the final 16 after a draw versus Malaysia. South Korea finished as a runner-up in Group E of the Asian Football Confederation Asian Cup after getting held by what critics say pesky Malaysia 3-3 in Qatar yesterday. Gaza Health Ministry says 20 Palestinians killed in strike on food aid queue. An Israeli strike on Gaza City killed 20 Palestinians and wounded 150 who were lining up for food aid on Thursday local time, Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said, in what a Palestinian coalition called a war crime. And these are today's headlines. It is now time to check in with a writer, Dawan. She's in the studio for our updates today. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
Hey, so let me ask you this. In your mind, in your head, what makes for like a real adult? 진짜 어른. Do you have like an image in mind, or do you know somebody who kind of fits into that category?
I think that real adults or like good adults are people who take full responsibility of their actions, like a mature human being. Like regards to like they think about their behaviors and the consequences regarding that, regarding like the environment or society or people. So I think those are what looks as good adults.
That does make sense. Those are really good qualities. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, first we're going to dive into our updates. We're going to talk about Busan City's population, specifically its natural population decline.
Yes, Busan's population for the first 11 months of last year declined by 12,000. According to Statistics Korea's population trend figures, the number of newborns in Busan in November of last year was just 945, the lowest since record-taking began. But in the same month, over 2,100 people died, and this is up 2% from the previous year, and it shows the rapid rate of aging in Busan. And this pretty much happened all last year, and the number of natural decline in population, where the number of deaths exceed births, was nearly as high as in 2022 when the Omicron strand of COVID led to a spike in deaths. Also, compared to just 5 years ago, it is an increase of over 4 times.
So that's, looking at the recent past, but what does a future projection look like?
Not good, and it's actually expected to get worse considering the city's marriage rate. In the first 11 months of last year, there were just over 9,400 marriages, down by 1.4% compared to the same period last year. This is in direct contrast to the increase of 2.5% nationwide.
Yes. So that is the status of our natural population decline in our city. Maybe a little bit of good news. We need it right now. The city's economic outlook is looking up.
This is the first positive outlook about the city's economy in 3 months. And according to the Busan branch of the Bank of Korea, the Composite Consumer Sentiment Index, CCSI, was 103.3, up by 3.6% from the previous months. A CCSI of over 100 means that consumers feel positively about the economic outlook, and Busan's CCSI barely went over 100 in October of last year and had been below 100 since then. And consumer sentiments over household income, spending, future economic prospects, and job opportunities all increased.
Oh, definitely some good news that we needed. We're going to move on to a related note with a Lunar New Year coming up very quickly. Busan City is taking steps to stabilize prices.
Yes, Busan City yesterday held a meeting with the heads of the relevant institutions to stabilize the prices ahead of the holidays. According to Busan, consumer prices have been steady, starting at 5% last year and coming down to the low 3% range recently. But there are still uncertainties involving global fuel prices and climate change, which will affect fresh produce on top of increased demand. And the city said that it will increase the supply of fruits and vegetables high in demand, and it will also hold special Dongbekjeon discount and other events at traditional markets. The city will also run a price stabilization response team and work with the relevant institutions to make sure that the food that goes out into the market are safe and are sold at reasonable price.
So this is definitely for everybody out there ahead of Lunar New Year. Moving on, Busan's newest road is opening next week.
Yes, 이순신대로 that runs through the North Port and by Busan Station opens on January 31st. This road is expected to make the North Port waterfront park more accessible and improve the traffic congestion by Busan Station. And the Busan Port Authority, BPA, says that this road spans 1.6 kilometers and is between 4 and 8 lanes on both sides. It connects the Yeonam Pier 3-way intersection and the Busan International Ferry Terminal parking lot. It runs past the Opera House and many other landmarks in the area, and actually the Opera Bridge, which connects 이순신대로 to 충장대로, is currently under construction.
And this is apparently a delayed opening, correct?
Yes, it is. And the road was completed in the first half of last year, but there was some friction between the districts and the BPA over some maintenance costs. And the BPA ended up paying for and completing the post-construction fix-ups and gave the management rates to the local governments.
Yes, well, thank you for giving us all the updates. And of course, we'll check in with you in just a little bit now on. Back to you, the listeners, for our topic. We're talking about a real adult. A good person, but we're talking about grown-ups because on the flip side, we're talking about how some minors and teenagers, they've been getting into quite a bit of trouble. The media has been covering that. So in your ideation, in your opinion, what makes somebody a good grown-up, a good adult? 자, 진짜 진정한 좋은 어른이 무엇인지 이야기를 나눠보고 있습니다. And here is now I'm back with the traffic and weather.
Good morning, everyone. Here's the traffic and weather for this hour. The roads are mostly clear this morning with congestion on 서전로 from 점포 intersection to 서면 intersection. Likewise, it is a little bit backed up on 르노 삼성대로 from 명지 underpass to 신호 bridge. So please drive safe. Switching over to the weather, the dry weather advisory has been in place since yesterday. Current temperatures are averaging -2 degrees Celsius in Busan, and afternoon highs will go up to a warm 9 degrees. Skies will be bright and sunny throughout the day, but there is still a chill in the mornings and evenings, so keep that in mind when heading out today. Looking briefly ahead to the weekend, it will be sunny with clear skies and temperatures will go back to normal, with Saturday seeing the low of 1 degree and the high of 9 degrees. Sunday will start a little lower with the low of -1 degrees. That's all for now. See you in the second hour.
Check this out.
This is Morning Wave Busan.
Everybody, wait a minute.
This is Morning Wave.
Morning Wave.
You are listening to
Morning Wave.
Morning Wave in Busan.
What show is this?
This is Morning Wave in Busan.
Here we go. Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for News Digest. I had a little.
It's
brain
time for
fart.
news. It's news.
Yes.
It's all
I was like,
news.
news something. We only do this every day, Monday through Friday. Anyhow.
Anyways.
I guess I'm not a good adult. What is your definition of a good grown-up? Oh, an adult with good qualities. What do you say?
And I'm not saying I have this, but I think someone who has their emotions under control. And then someone who has perspective in seeing things. I think, I know being, in living in Korea, the land of Confucianism, we all have learned to respect adults, but I think it also definitely should go the other way around. Understanding when people who are younger than you do things, stupid things, not criminal things.
Right.
Maybe minorly criminal things not excusing shoplifting, but when it's minor, when it's not attacking a lawmaker. But when it's minor, just kind of giving him grace and just you're still learning. Your judgment perceptors are developing. Maybe
giving
they're
second chances.
Yeah, giving second chances, not equating a teenager's action as someone who's in your age group.
And the thing is, that's the whole point. The debate is for teenagers, their brains are not fully formed.
Right.
So, and some people think, well, they should act like mini adults, but they're not.
Right.
Teenagers are not adults.
And I think even just as kids, kids will say some horrible things, horrible things, but just not getting. You can get offended, but not just kind of retorting, snapping back at them, even though I sometimes want to when my nephew says some horrible things. I'm like, oh, but not because he's a horrible person, but it's a learning opportunity. So I just need to kind of step back, compose myself and be like, all right, he's 7. You're not. So
you're talking about your little nephew, your 7-year-old.
Well, sometimes he'll just say things like you're ugly. I'm like, well, I want to be like, well, you're ugly, but I'm like, okay, you're not 7. You have had 20 plus years of experience. Let's just
I get it. Well, can I just share one? I got to share this message now.
Please.
Okay, June 1 Waiver says, when we start leaving that last bite for our little siblings, that's when we start growing up and understanding others and living together. I think that's what being an adult.
See, grace for younger people.
I like that. So I had to read it because it just went in hand with what you were saying.
It's tough though. We give the first bite to the elders, and the last bite to the youngers.
What's left for us? No, I was kidding.
the good middle parts.
The good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for News Digest, I know the segment name. We saw another violent attack against a politician yesterday. Hence, we're talking about this. PPP lawmaker Bae Hyun-jin, right?
Right. So this is Representative Bae Hyun-jin of Songpa's Eul district. She was attacked with a rock. on her head inside a building in Gangnam. So according to the office of the lawmaker, which also released the CCTV footage of what happened, she entered the building around 5:20 in the afternoon yesterday, and someone approached her, and this person was wearing a mask with the hood on, and asked her if she was indeed lawmaker Bae Hyun-jin. She said yes, thought it was a supporter or a constituent, and she was about to greet him when he hit her on the back of her head repeatedly with a rock.
Oh my gosh.
About a dozen times plus. So she was rushed to the local hospital and she had to get stitches from her scalp. Thankfully, the injuries were not too serious. It was about a 1 centimeter cut. The doctor said that the bleeding has stopped, but there isn't a fracture, but they're still monitoring her to make sure there isn't residual bleeding.
Oh my gosh, like a dozen times? I mean, even once is bad enough, but multiple times over and over again. So what do we know about the suspect?
So we don't know much, but here's the shocking part. He claimed at the scene that he was 15. Years old. So he has been taken to the Gangnam police, and he reportedly is a middle school second-year student, and he's undergoing questioning with the guardian present. And we know for certain that he is a minor because the police said that they cannot confirm any information about the suspect's identity as he is a minor. So if you're, counting, it's hard not to. This is the second time this month that we've had a violent attack on two very high-profile politicians.
Yes.
Bae, having been an announcer from MBC. She's been she's even been a spokesperson for the ruling party.
Right, very visible.
Right, and of course there was the attack on the DP chair, Lee Jae-myung. So in terms of motive, the attack on Lee Jae-myung was a politically motivated one, as the suspect said himself. We still don't know the motivation behind this particular attack, but there are concerns that once campaigning for the general election start in full, this is when politicians really go out to the streets. They have many meet and greets and face-to-face meetings. Then perhaps attacks and copycat crimes even may take place. So both the ruling and opposition parties, as well as the presidential office, condemned this action. And the prime minister directed the police to secure the safety of lawmakers and any other prominent political figures. So many people in and out of politics, they're also calling for politics and politicians to step away from politics of hatred and division.
And this is really worrisome because we hear about politically motivated attacks or attacks on politicians abroad, everywhere, and then now it's just becoming kind of, at least it seems like now it's becoming more commonplace.
And what, just on a personal note, what this kind of reminds me of is the series of rampages that we've had last year, where one or two just kind of triggered other people to just even make threats online, and that was kind of a weird trend for a while. So we're really hoping that it stops here.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, next, let's go over the political party's discussion over the Serious Accidents Punishment Act, the SAPA.
Right, so starting Saturday, so tomorrow, the SAPA will apply to small to mid-sized businesses, which have between 5 and 49 employees. So the ruling and opposition parties discussing this, kind of deferring the implementation of the bill by 2 years. However, they really never got to it because both sides were, to put it bluntly, courting their respective voter bases, business associations, and labor unions, so active talks never really took place. So what the SAPA says is that in case of serious accidents, and by serious accidents, we define those as any accident where a death occurs or results in 10 or more injuries or diseases of employees, the owner of the business or one that's in charge of the operations is deemed criminally responsible to at least 1 year of prison sentence.
Okay.
So the ruling party has asked for a 2-year postponement of the bill being applied to smaller and mid-sized businesses. However, the Democratic Party had put forth preconditions that in order for the deferment to happen, the government needs to officially apologize for its lack of preparation, as it's had years to kind of prepare for this implementation, a promise to implement the law in 2 years, and specific safety prevention measures during those 2 years. However, the two sides specifically never saw eye to eye on establishing an industrial accidents and health agency.
I see. Well, I don't know. We've been talking about this for so long.
Right.
So we'll see what happens on that front. But going back to the bill itself, the government had pled for the parliament to defer the law, citing an example that even your neighborhood bakery owner could be punished, I guess, technically. I mean, but is this true? How true is the statement?
I mean, technically, yes, but in reality, probably not. So earlier this week, 3 ministers, including the Minister of Employment and Labor, came out with a press conference and kind of pled for the parliament to defer the law. And Labor Minister said that, quote, this law puts millions of jobs at risk and even local bakery owners could be punished. So technically, it is true if the bakery has 5 or more employees, but labor unions criticized that was a biased comment, kind of targeted at evoking this pathos of an image of kind of a helpless, nice owner of a bakery being attacked by the law. So statistically, local bakeries, restaurants, and lodging, so your kind of neighborhood businesses, they're not likely going to be affected because in the last 3 years, these businesses accounted for about 1% of such industrial deaths. And there is also no proof as to what kind of jobs may be lost if the SAPA does go into effect. So according to a labor ministry survey over companies with under 50 people that was conducted in 2022, about 80% said that they have taken the necessary safety steps or are in the process of taking these steps. So hopefully, the law will be implemented starting tomorrow. So hopefully they are ready.
Ah, yes. Well, let's move on to our next topic for now. A major trend or pattern we're seeing in universities here in Korea are these no major admissions. So what is this, and can you explain?
Right, so it's no majors or open majors admission, so 무전공 or 열린 전공.
Okay.
So what happens in South Korea is when high school seniors, or if you're a retaker, when you apply to university, you apply to a specific department within that university. So you kind of decide on your future at the age of 18, 17, which seems young.
Oh, so this is like the equivalent of, let's say in the States, we say like undeclared. You don't declare a major.
Exactly. So what happens in the U.S. usually is that high school students, you go into a university, you get accepted into the university without declaring a major.
Yes.
And around your sophomore year,
you
have to choose. So that's what they're trying to do. So the government planned on expanding this open major policy to about a quarter of the freshman quota for national universities and 20% for private universities, starting with this year's high school senior. So basically next year's college admissions. But there was quite a bit of backlash. So they took a step back, saying that this year the policy will be more or less up to the universities.
Okay.
And local governments are encouraging the schools. However, for one, Seoul National University is looking into expanding this open major to about 100 to 400 newly admitted students from the 2025 academic year. So this is based on the judgment that students in this case can take their time at least a year or two in figuring out what suits them, and universities can introduce new majors or integrate different majors to kind of fit with the times and offer them more flexibility from this sort of the rigid academic system.
Right.
So it is based on the criticism that the current major choice system, it's almost entirely based on your high school or 수능 grades, and you apply to a specific major.
That is true. That's the system in place right now. So, in theory, you would think, well, is this not a good thing? But I guess there are concerns regarding this, right?
Right. So that realistically, students are probably not going to start choosing their major solely based on their passion or their interest and academic curiosity, just because they have now a year to kind of shop around different classes.
Sure.
And there's a possibility that the preference for these majors with higher job rates will still be in demand just 1 year later than when they enter.
Okay.
And then concerns that students will not be getting their fundamental studies if they don't start in their freshman year. So that's because in line with this, starting in a few years, the CSATs will have a narrower scope of math and science subjects to kind of, so onto the so-called liberal arts level. So higher levels of calculus will not be included on the CSATs and so on. So if the students who are then not taught higher levels of calculus in high school come to university and miss out on taking those higher level math classes their freshman year, then they will just have that much catching up to do come sophomore and junior year.
I see.
So while it does seem ideal to give students time to choose and shop around, it can't just be idealistic. That policymakers would need to factor in the realities of the Korean academic system and also the job market.
Right. regardless, it's so rigorous, so difficult to
The thing
navigate
about
your way.
education is just there's no perfect answer, and there's so many different cases. So yeah.
Well, thanks for going over all the news items, and of course, we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right, with that, we are due for a first song, but here it is. Best Day of My Life by American authors. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are talking about this, we just talked about that terrible incident on a lawmaker. And the debate today is over lowering the age of criminal responsibility. We call that criminal minor, which is 14 here in South Korea. When the government proposed lowering this age to 13, the parliament issued a report saying that, most experts think that simply lowering this age and expanding, those who fall under the purview of criminal prosecution are not fundamental responses to the actual matter at hand. Experts say that the increase in the crimes perpetrated by young kids is in part attributable to, number one, I'm pretty sure, upbringing has something to do with it, but also to social media. As we saw in the 13-year-old Joyride case, young adolescents tend to kind of want to show off with their actions, whether it's good or bad. And, what happens? Their friend is filming, right? And then they post it on social media. It's a thing. And this could have a domino effect of prompting copycat crimes or actions. And this is because, kids, peer pressure, they're more impressionable. And it just seems that they're going through a certain phase, and I know, yes, they should be able to control those instincts, but anyhow, it is what it is right now, and I don't want to, make a blanket statement saying like all teenagers are bad, because that's not true. There are certainly good teenagers out there as well. Experts, therefore, are calling for more active control and education over, for example, social media usage, and to provide kids with healthier outlets for their energy. And then I was reading what one of our waivers was saying, Leslie making a comment about, it also has to do with, how they're brought up and the influence of parents and whatnot. But that's also true too. And I'm not pretending to be a perfect person or a grown-up or adult or parent or anything like that, but there is that parental influence as well in terms of, making sure your young ones are, expressing themselves, but in a healthy way, right? Anyhow, it's time for a text topic. We today are talking about what the qualities are of a good adult, a good grown-up. What makes you a good grown-up? 요즘에 진짜 어른이 있을까요? Like when we think back in Korean history, we think of like the so-called greats, right? Like Admiral Isun-shin. I didn't know him personally. I don't know what his personality was like, but he was like a great human being, an adult. Are there 진정한 어른이 있을까요? 있으면 어떤 모습일까요? That is our text topic for today. Let me know what you think and what you guys have added. To add to what Leslie was saying earlier, she says good adult qualities: respectful, responsible, accountable, kind, has a strong work ethic, is capable of being sympathetic and empathetic appropriately. They value others and take care of others, and they teach their kids these things so they don't become bratty, problematic children. No, I get you. I do get what you're saying. So anyhow, I'll be back with our hot clip. For our hot clip, it's Friday, and I'm so happy I found this clip because I wanted to bring you, the waivers out there, something a little to lift up your Friday morning. This clip is from ABC News, and also the video footage that we're going to show you is from TikTok. So here we go.
A doorman at an apartment building in Manhattan turning the first floor foyer into a runway. And the videos of it have gone viral. Millions of views, literally. Some people might frown at this, but these tenants are calling it the best doorman in the city for spreading positivity and helping them strut their stuff.
Hello guys, how you doing?
Too many doormen are confidants.
Friday.
Like that uncle you never had. Well, Jonathan is that and so much more.
When people move, I cry. Put it like that. I love my people here. What's up, boss?
At 55 West 17th Street, where everyone's mood is up, where people get down.
Friday.
He's the dancing doorman of the Flatiron District in just 2 weeks. Went from having about 100 followers to 6,200 and counting after having a light bulb moment.
I had mentioned to the ladies, to the nannies, that I would like to do like a soul train kind of thing here, up and down the carpet, and I guess like throughout time, it just like progressed, and that just happened.
This spontaneous dance parties in the lobby of the luxury building all start with Jonathan saying this now signature phrase.
I saw her coming down the block and told her, walk that shh. And she's delivered.
Vanessa from Grenada, a nanny in the building.
I went to the elevator and I told my boss, I was like, I'm late, but I did my dance.
What initially started as a Friday event now happens several times a day. The 34-year-old realizes he's fortunate he can do this. Most buildings are pretty strict. There are those who are a little shy.
I had a few people that walked up to me in the street, and I'm like, do you want to walk? And they're like, no. Walk that
Oh, what the heck? And others who get caught up in what is Jonathan's contagious, much admired and applauded desire to make someone's day.
It's taking off, and I'm enjoying it. It's cool.
Oh my gosh, did you guys see that or hear that? Oh, this is, when I saw this, I was like, I gotta share this with our waivers out there. Okay, so he's a doorman. What is his job? So he opens the door to greet the residents, but he obviously did not stop there. He got inventive. Jonathan Vasquez, right? And my question is this, like, I don't know. If you're an I or E, I don't know how this is going to affect you, but would you like it? And then I was asking our staff members, like, you know, because I would definitely do the runway. I would do the catwalk, and so would my producer. And then our writer and our engineer were like, no, I'm moving. Would you move or would you do the little catwalk? So that's the question. Let me know. This was your hot clip for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for Casey and Foreign Press Highlights. Hello.
Hi? I'm so confused.
Can we get the catwalk dance from you? No? Dancing in your chair? Would you do it? Would you do it?
I just because you told me to, yeah, I guess I would. Yeah, you told me to do it, and I was like, okay. I would be so confused right now.
If we had a doorman,
yeah.
I mean we have security guards, but like not the 경비.
Can you imagine?
No, if you had a doorman,
안녕하세요.
and then he'd be like, 자 이제 걸어.
Oh yeah.
Would you do it?
I would call the cops. I think I would call the police on. I'd be like,
Really?
who is this guy?
I would so dance. I would so dance.
Oh, well, you just told me to dance, and I did, kind of.
You guys
But I
are
also
all
saw
bummers.
myself in the car. I know.
You guys are such Debbie Downers on a Friday.
All right. Yes, I would dance. Like, my pants were on fire. Woo!
Oh, on fire, really?
No.
Okay.
No.
And Leslie wants to know, is Casey growing his beard longer? It looks longer.
It is, yes. It's incrementally longer every day.
How long are we going?
I don't know if you know who ZZ Top is, but I hope to get to...
ZZ Top is like down to your belly button.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I know. See? You would like look at... Imagine if I were the doorman and I had this
And did
beard
that?
that like...
Oh,
you'd be like,
that'd be
I don't know about this
fun.
guy.
Oh, you're getting comments. People like it.
Oh,
JB
thank you.
Waver says he likes it too.
Oh, thank you very much.
And they say it looks good, but don't go that long. All right.
Okay, cut it off at some point. I got you.
Let's dive into our first story. What's it about? Where's it from?
Okay, we're going to talk about a story from Business Insider first.
Okay.
But this article reminded me, like, you know, I don't know what happened to the term, but you remember when everybody was talking about quiet quitting?
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the thing, right?
Yeah.
It kind of disappeared. But now I think we have the opposite of that.
Which is?
Well, not leaving. Not leaving your work. So to give you a little bit of background, basically the tech industry has been cutting a lot of jobs since last year. There's a website called layoffs.fyi, which tracks these numbers. They said that a total of 262,595 employees were laid off from 1,186 different tech companies in 2023.
Wow.
Sounds like a lot, right?
That's a lot of people.
That was a mouthful, too. So at the time of reporting this story, they said that this year so far, 63 companies had cut an additional 10,963 workers. So that brings me to the tech giant Google, who actually laid off 12,000 employees in early 2023.
I remember that.
And that was around 6% of their total workverse.
Right.
And they're continuing job cuts this year. They've already fired more than 1,000 workers this month. Just this month.
This month.
The Verge, which is another outlet, actually obtained a staff memo from their CEO saying that more layoffs are coming this year. The company's laying off several hundred employees in advertising, also people working on Google Assistant, devices and services team. However, to the headline, Google's efforts to shrink its workforce in Korea have hit a snag as some employees are refusing to go.
Can you refuse to go?
Yeah, that's what I was
Is
like,
that
really?
a thing? Like if someone says, Kat, you're fired from Morning Wave in Busan.
Get outta here.
Please don't come back. Like
We don't like your catwalk dancing.
Yeah, can I like literally just be like, no?
Apparently, yes.
Oh.
It depends. It depends. So basically what happened was a lot of the workers for Google here in Korea were like, last year, they're like, uh-oh, this doesn't look good, what's happening in the U.S. So around 100 workers actually decided to form a union last year. And the head of the Google Korea union, Kim Jong-sup, said in last April, with these ongoing job cuts in the U.S. tech industry, employees have been concerned about job security and decided to establish a union, which makes sense, right?
Okay.
So while the big company's been trying to actually shrink their workforce here since last year, some employees are declining what they call a recommendation to resign. Are you familiar with the term?
Recommendation to resign?
Yeah.
Like, how firm is that?
Well, I guess it's a recommendation. So
You don't have to then.
Apparently, you don't have to. According to Korean labor law, the recommended resignation occurs when an employee resigns at an employer's suggestion. Like, hey, why don't you not come back, I guess.
Oh, how uncomfortable is that?
I know. Can you imagine having that discussion on both sides? That must feel wonderful. So in most cases, according to Gangnam, which is a labor law firm, most employees will refuse to resign as they do not wish to face uncertainty and the difficulty of finding new employment. Duh,
because you're getting that paycheck.
Yeah, right.
Right. But I'm very curious now. In all seriousness,
Yes.
Is there any legal basis for them to refuse to resign or quit or leave or whatever?
Yeah, and that's where it comes back to Korean labor law, which I assume is different than U.S. labor law.
Okay.
I'm going to assume.
Okay.
Yeah, in many ways. But basically, according to Korean labor law, even foreign employers, if they have more than 5 workers or more, they cannot dismiss them without just cause.
Okay.
So Google here has around 800 full-time employees in South Korea. However, they did say in the article around 10 employees from its office in Seoul have accepted the company's suggestion to resign. So 10 out of 800. That's not many.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not trying to shut down the entire Google Korea. So,
Right.
anyhow, what's the plan for the rest of them then?
I know, for the 790 so people.
Yeah.
Basically, the head of the union said they're trying to secure an agreement with Google to ensure job security, which I don't know if that's going to work or not. But they're also pursuing something called voluntary resignation. Here's where like the legalese gets weird. How's
Okay.
that different? If you do voluntary resignation, that means a worker can sometimes get an early retirement bonus.
Oh, so different.
That's different, right?
So you're getting
yes.
like what in Korea they call it pension, right? Some sort of
Right.
pension or retirement versus not getting anything, or
Right.
just maybe 1 or 2 months severance pay.
Right, but it still doesn't sound like it's very voluntary.
No.
Yeah, like, I mean, unless every day that you show up to work, you like try with your boss, like, hey, how about pay me not to come?
So uncomfortable.
I can't imagine.
Right.
And I think the point of this Business Insider is an American publication. And I think what they're trying to see is like, in the United States, there have been a lot of stories of workers at these big tech companies
Yes.
trying to unionize, and some of them
Right.
are successful and some are not. So they might be looking to this Korean situation here and be like, oh, can we do this?
Well, we'll see what becomes of this story.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to our second one. What do you have for us?
You scared me this morning when I was listening to you talk about teenagers.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So this story is actually about teens in North Korea. There's a really disturbing video. I don't know if you've seen this. This is in CNN, but it's been reported in other outlets as well.
Yes.
The CNN headline is "Rare Footage Shows North Korean Teens Punished for Watching South Korean Dramas," research group claims.
The thing is, I haven't seen it. I've only read about it and heard about it. So you got to give some details.
Okay, so basically what you're seeing here is, we've heard for a long time that North Korea has been closed off from the rest of the world. They do everything in their power to keep everything out, and that includes movies, books from any other culture, but especially from South Korea.
Right.
And they've always talked about, you can face severe punishment if you get caught with this. So as of last Friday, this video has been released, and it's a narrated video in Korean, but if you watch the CNN version of the video, there's somebody who narrates it in English for you. And it's disturbing. It looks like dystopia. There's 2 teens in this amphitheater filled with hundreds of people wearing these all kind of similar white shirts. They look like they're students as well. They all look young.
Okay.
And they're flanked by 2 adults in military-style uniforms, which never is a good look. And they're standing facing 6 more adults in front of them, seated at tables. And the narrator says not long ago, a public trial was held, and they named the teenagers. They specifically named them. They says they were caught watching and distributing puppet regime's recordings.
AKA South Korea pop culture content.
Exactly. The puppet regime refers to South. It's a derogatory term for South Korea. that they commonly use there. And the narrative says that they watched and distributed dozens of South Korean movies and TV shows, which out of the whole number of South Korean content doesn't sound like a lot. But regardless, they were sentenced to 12 years of labor. And these guys are probably 16 at the time. And they did say in the narration they were only 16 years old just at the beginning of their lives. However, they were seduced by foreign culture, ultimately ruining their future paths. Then the video goes on to name their homeroom teachers. They put their names on this huge screen for everybody to see. Yeah, it sounds terrible, right?
Right. I mean, do we know where the video came from?
Well, we know this. The South and North Development Institute, or SAND Institute, which is based in Seoul, they work with North Korean defectors, and they have obtained this recording and distributed it to places like CNN, where we can now see it. And there's some speculation coming about the date of the video, because everybody is wearing masks in the video, as I said. So they think it was filmed during the COVID-19 pandemic, so not, probably not this year. But there was something in December 2020 that North Korea adopted called the Anti-Reactionary Ideology and Culture Act, which basically that's banning everybody from watching any South Korean content. And they think because some of that text appears on the screen as well, that this happened after December 2020. So it's, between then and now. But at the same time, they did say the South Korean National Intelligence Service did say to CNN they cannot verify if the video is genuine, and they are, however, monitoring related movements as North Korean authorities are strengthening surveillance and punishment for the inflow of external videos, which means South Korean content.
So that takes us to our next question. How are people in North Korea able to get so many, videos and just South Korean content?
Yeah. Right, if it's like such a lockdown, right? How is it possible? They did say, according to CNN, it kind of happened because recently the relationship between North Korea and China kind of expanded. So probably a lot of it went through that direction. And then when things were kind of thawing between North and South Korea in the recent few years, not now, obviously, but before that, then a lot of South Korean pop culture actually was able to get into the country as well. But because of those ties between South Korea and North Korea have rapidly deteriorated, that's why you're seeing all these kinds of strict rules coming back into place. And there's such a crackdown on foreign media, especially from South Korea.
So that's unfortunate to hear about. Is there anything you want to add before?
Sure. It's not just, we hear about like the videos and movies, but it's not just that. They mentioned in the article, they're even trying to crack down on mannerisms, vocabulary, and hairstyles, which we talked about recently, how it's kind of spreading regardless.
Yes.
So they're trying to crack down on things like women calling their romantic partner oppa, because that comes from, what they see in dramas.
Yes.
Instead, you have to call your romantic partner male comrade, which doesn't sound very romantic, to be honest. But yeah, so it's not just the videos, it's any kind of foreign influence that can be seen in public behaviors, such as public displays of affection as well.
PDA, no PDA.
No PDAs, right.
All right. For now, though, let's move on to our next story.
I want to teach you some English.
All right.
Can I?
Yeah.
Because
teach me some English.
I had no idea what this means. If you know what this is, I will high five you. I'll come over there and do the catwalk dance.
Okay.
What does doing porridge mean?
Doing porridge?
Yeah.
Not eating.
No. Not eating porridge. Doing porridge.
I have no idea.
I didn't either. Okay, don't feel bad. It turns out it sounds like it's British English.
Is that why?
Yeah.
Oh,
Those guys, they're so creative.
Oh, any Brits out there?
Yeah, good job, guys.
Let us know.
Unless you're doing porridge, which means doing jail time, then sorry. So doing porridge means doing jail time.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, what?
Like porridge is like juk, no?
Right.
Like, juk, kanji juk.
All right. Let's see if you know this one. In
Okay.
Korean,
Okay.
What does eating rice and beans mean?
In Korean?
Yeah.
Eating rice and beans?
Now, this is wrong. It's the economist's fault, not mine.
Kongbap?
Yeah. Oh, is it? Do you know it? Are you familiar? PD's shaking her head.
Kongbap means like you need to go to jail or something related to jail.
It's the equivalent.
That's doing porridge?
Yeah, doing porridge. In British English, doing porridge means doing jail time.
Ooh.
I guess the Korean equivalent is eating rice and beans. Kongbap? Is that how you say it? Kongbap bogo? 콩밥하다? I'm not sure which one it would be.
No. 콩밥 먹어.
먹어?
Right.
Okay.
Like if someone's misbehaving, 너 콩밥 먹어야 돼. Like it's kind of saying you need to be punished. Like you need to go to jail.
Right, there you go. So I guess the amount of food or what the quantity or quality of food you eat depends on, okay.
Okay.
Well, there you go. This comes from an article which is the complete opposite of what we just talked about. The Economist has put out an article this week that says, literally, the headline is, South Korea's ban on praising the North is ridiculous. And I just thought it was fascinating because how we just talked about how extreme things are in North Korea, like considering, things coming from South Korea. The Economist is saying it's kind of the equivalent here because making someone do porridge or eat rice and beans, in the Korean expression, for expressing their political views is expected of despotic North Korea. It's not generally associated with its prosperous democratic southern neighbor, but the article explains how the National Security Act was recently used to put 68-year-old Lee Yun-sup in prison for writing a poem of praise in North Korea, which we talked about a while ago. But
Right. So real quick, because we got to wrap up.
Sure.
So it's about the law, basically, where in South Korea you can't praise North Korea, right?
Right, and how it has been used in some cases in what they consider absurd ways to sentence a woman for 2 years of prison for having recordings of 14 North Korean songs, for example.
So if you're interested, you can check out The Economist and read the article there, right?
You got it.
All right. Well, we're going to call it a wrap. And now I know a new term, doing porridge. So I will not forget that one.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I don't want to do porridge.
No. But we do want to see your cow. We'll check in with you next week, Casey.
Okay.
All right. Everybody, this was Foreign Press Highlights. And with that, we are going to get to our next song. And this is Sexy Boy by Air.
Your Race to the World. befm 부산영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구 도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의
어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Have you ever wondered what goes on inside BFM studios? Well, wonder no more. You can now listen to as well as watch all of BFM shows. We're bringing BFM even closer to you. Starting May 1st, you can watch all of our shows live on YouTube. Search for 부산영어방송 to catch live streams of your favorite BFM programs. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. You do not want to miss out.
공양미를 대출해드릴 수 있을 것 같아요. 근데 수수료를 좀.
보이스피싱 전화 올 땐 전화 끊고 확인하기.
실장님의 계좌가 금융범죄에 연루되었습니다.
기관 사칭 사기 전화 112로 신고하기. 택배 주소 오류 사기 인터넷 주소 클릭한대.
늘 의심하고 꼭 전화 끊고 또 확인하고.
보인다 보여.
수법이
보이는구나.
눈을 뜨면 예방책이 보입니다.
공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
It's morning.
And what a lovely morning.
Dynamic Busan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Chevy.
What show is this?
Hello.
Hello, baby.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. Ruling party lawmaker attacked in Seoul. She remains in a stable condition after treatment. People Power Party or PPP lawmaker Representative Bae Hyun-jin sustained a head injury after being attacked by an unidentified assailant yesterday, but remains in stable condition, her office said. The incident happened around 5 p.m. in Seoul's Gangnam district. According to Bae's aide, a male pedestrian walked up to Bae and asked if she was the lawmaker, Bae Hyun-jin, and struck her in the back of the head. She was then transported to Suncheonhyang University Hospital after suffering from her wound. Her injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. The suspect was momentarily arrested by police in Gangnam and claimed to officers that he was 15 years old. Workplace safety law on smaller firms to be implemented tomorrow as scheduled. A law punishing employers for workplace accidents will apply to companies with fewer than 50 employees from tomorrow after rival camps failed to agree on a 2-year extension to the grace period during a plenary session yesterday. Under the Serious Action Punishment Act, known as SAPA, owners or CEOs of companies with 50 or more employees face at least 1 year in prison or fines of up to 1 billion won in the event of fatal on-duty disasters caused by lax workplace safety measures. Meanwhile, President Yoon Suk-yeol urged the parties to put their heads together to seek ways to relieve anxiety among small business owners and protect employment for the sake of the economy and public livelihoods. Japan to conduct 7 rounds of release of wastewater from Fukushima plant from April. Japan is set to conduct 7 rounds of discharge of contaminated water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant starting from April. According to the media yesterday, the Tokyo Electric Power Company, known as TEPCO, the operator of the Fukushima facility, plans to discharge 54,600 tons of wastewater from April of this year to March of next year over 7 rounds. TEPCO carried out 3 rounds of discharge last year. Between August and November, it is set to begin the 4th round in late February. Meanwhile, the plant operator decided to postpone plans to start removing debris on a test basis from the plant's unit to reactor from before March to October. South Korea staggers into the final 16 after draw versus Malaysia. South Korea finished as the runner-up in Group E of the Asian Football Confederation or AFC Asian Cup after getting held by the resilient Malaysia 3-3 in Qatar yesterday. Son Heung-min had given world number 23 South Korea a 3-2 lead with a penalty 4 minutes into added time, but the Taeguk Warriors settled for a shocking draw. South Korea finished as the runner-up in Group E with 5 points, having earlier defeated Bahrain 3-1 and then played Jordan to a 2-2 draw. By finishing as the Group E runner-up, South Korea managed to avoid their arch-rival Japan, the runner-up in Group D in the round of 16. South Korea will face the Group F winner, either Saudi Arabia or Thailand. Gaza Health Ministry says 20 Palestinians killed in strike on food aid line. An Israeli strike on Gaza City killed 20 Palestinians and wounded 150 who were in line for food aid on Thursday local time, Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said, in what a Palestinian coalition called a war crime. The Israeli military said it was looking into the report. Meanwhile, in the north, a World Health Organization official described the food situation as absolutely horrific, and humanitarian workers said rare deliveries of aid were mobbed by desperate people who were visibly starving with sunken eyes. And this was News Highlights. It's time for Issue Waggle Waggle. We have Haley back.
Hello again.
So dry in here.
It is very dry.
Yes.
It's still cold.
Yes, it is. But hey, we're not complaining. No.
Oh, are you?
No.
A little. I'm a little.
We live in Busan. I mean, overall, we have it good. So
it's true.
Yes.
I think we're above 0 today.
Are
right?
we?
Yeah.
Are we?
We will at least go up. Oh, it is currently 0.
It is?
It is 0. At least on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with my. Okay.
So we're going up to the balmy,
0.
Positive 1, 2 soon. Yeah.
It's Friday. It's okay. Any weather's okay. Well, first issue. The prosecution is looking into a scam case of the daughter of a former Busan area district chief. What is this about?
Right. So a woman in her 40s is facing scamming charges. She's accused of allegedly getting 15 billion won in investment funds for an empty bottle cleaning service from 20 different people between 2016 and November of last year. So that was a fairly long alleged scam. She apparently used her father's position and network as he was a district head in one of the districts in Busan to build trust amongst the victims. So she promised them a certain amount of returns every month, but the business, never a thing. And she either gave away the money to other investors to kind of further defraud them, or kept the money for herself.
Oh, and apparently she lives quite the, exorbitant lifestyle through these funds, right?
Right. So according to the victims and from her social media page, it was, quote, beyond their imagination. So she would post her extravagant life on social media. And I mean, we've had experts who came on to our program and talked about these scams, and this is one of their tactics that they use. I'm not saying she did, because this is still a case under investigation.
Okay.
But to show their riches on social media to get people to trust them. Oh, well, if this person's living this life.
Yes.
So this is new, so I'll just say the brands outright, including a Porsche vehicle, a diamond-studded watch, Hermes and Chanel bags, golf trips, yachts, and much, much
and
more.
And she is dressed to the nines.
She is indeed. So she apparently also, this is according to one of the messages that she sent to her victims, she sent her son to Hawaii to study abroad ever since he was in elementary school, and told one of the victims that she spends about 40 million won every month for her son's tuition and living expenses. So that's 4천만 won every month. That's someone's. It's a lot of people's yearly salary. Right. So it's problematic. So if the charges are true, she allegedly stole from others to fund this extravagant lifestyle for herself. And her husband, when asked, told reporters that his parents also suffered from financial damage from her, and they're actually going through divorce proceedings right now. Her father declined to comment.
Wow. And you're posting this.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Everything is allegedly, of course, but wow.
Well, the bags and the cars and the yachts are real.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. All right, next up, we know China is very sensitive about this one China policy, so much so that they would hold an individual responsible for what is on, their map inside their day, I had to say 3 times, their day planner.
Yeah,
Really?
So a 72-year-old Korean man, surnamed Tong, he was traveling to Shenyang in China via a Korean Air flight earlier this week. So he's a businessman who's been traveling back and forth between here and China for the past 30 years. So at the Taoshan airport, he was held up by the customs officers while they were going through the security because of this map that he didn't even know he had. So the
Okay.
map was a part of his day planner, the diary, as we call it in Korea.
Like literally the thing that...
It's the one that's folded inside of your day planner.
Okay.
It's there. So this map is a 20 by 30 centimeters. So it's quite small. It marks Taiwan as if it's its own country. And you can, if you
see it right now.
If you really try, you can see it.
How though?
Well, so
unless you really...
You have to look for it. And which they did. It seems that they did. So Taiwan
I can
is
barely make it out.
written in
Yeah.
bold letters, and Taipei is in red. So that kind of makes it look like Taiwan's a country, Taipei the capital city.
I see.
Yeah, so customs officials told him that this marking can be misleading and it's against the principles of one China policy. So he was taken to secondary for investigation. You know the room, the dungeon they have
The scary room.
The scary room
that we have in our heads,
for a map that he
Yes.
didn't create.
And
And
he probably didn't know he had.
yeah, and they also pointed out to him that the Tibetan border is vague.
But he didn't make the map.
Exactly. So, and that's what he told them. He's like, well, I didn't make the map, didn't even know I had it, but they just wouldn't listen. So he complained. Thankfully, he spoke Mandarin and he tried to call the members of the local Korean community. And this is when they let him go after an hour. And from what I've heard from people who've been in secondary, an hour in that area it's a long time.
Because it's like they're taking you in for, questioning. So
And I mean, they
it's like-
outright treat you like an illegal, like a quote unquote illegal. And
Right,
that's
right,
the
right.
Perception.
Oh,
Right,
gosh.
right. So the Korean consulate in Shenyang is looking into the case, and they said if they do confirm that this was an excessive act by the customs office, they'll lodge a strong complaint. But they also cautioned Korean travelers coming in to be careful of, not carrying potentially controversial maps if you do plan on coming to China.
By the way, what did they do to the map?
They confiscated it and then told him that if he wants it back, he can come back to the airport on his way back to Korea and claim it. I don't think he will. That's just my personal guess, conjecture. I don't think he wants it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Wants to forget the whole incident, right? All right. So we all know this cliche or, I don't know, urban myth of people hiding money in mattresses, under the sofa. And I guess this is a story. It's a lesson that maybe you just shouldn't do that.
Yeah, for many reasons. For many, many reasons. So an old woman almost lost 18 million won of her savings, 1,800만 won, because she stashed it away inside a mattress.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so this woman, she was widowed from her husband 2 years ago. She's been saving up all the money that her son sends her every month inside her mattress. But her home was going through a renovation recently, and her other child, who was overseeing the project, of course didn't know about it and tossed out the old mattress because they didn't know it was stuffed full of cash. But thankfully, this is someone doing his job when he didn't have to. An off-duty police officer who was in training, by the way, saw this mattress and kind of saw something sticking out of it. Went closer, took a closer look, and saw that it was cash.
Oh, my goodness.
And thankfully, he was on his way to toss out his old desk, so that's why he was just in that area. So he called it in, and, thankfully, everyone did their job because the mattress also had the sticker that you're supposed to when you're tossing out furniture.
Yeah.
The disposal sticker, and so they were able to track down the phone number. So all's good. Hopefully, she'll take the money to the bank or somewhere safe, like a safe box.
So here's a lesson. Don't stuff your mattress. If you do it, at least tell one person. I don't know.
Well, no,
Should you?
I don't know.
No, because who can you trust these days?
Take it to a bank.
I don't know.
I would take it to a bank.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, we've been talking about what it means to be a good adult. And apparently we have a good example in our own city.
Right, and this would be Judge Park Ju-young of Busan Regional Court. If you remember from a few weeks ago, he's the judge who gave a homeless man who was in his courtroom, a defendant in his courtroom, money so he wouldn't be stuck out in the cold during the last year's cold storm.
Sure.
So he was the presiding judge over one of the Busan rental scam cases. This was a defendant in her 50s. She allegedly scammed 18 billion. Well, no, she was found guilty. So she did scam 18 billion won from over 100 victims, actually.
Oh my goodness.
Many people in their 20s and 30s as these rental scams go. So he actually, this ruling that he made, it was a surprise because he sentenced her to 15 years in prison, which was 2 years over the prosecution's request.
So they requested 13 years. He handed down 15 years.
That usually never happens.
Right.
So he stated that such actions, they shake up the very root of the average person's livelihoods, and the judicial authorities, aka judges, they need to show sternness against such acts. So that by itself, it was kind of heralded by a lot of commenters of, well, this is why the judicial system exists.
Right.
And then he went above and beyond. So he read parts of all of the victims' petitions. After he announced a verdict, he asked the victims to stay behind, and he read him a letter that he wrote before. And he said, as a member of the establishment generation who is responsible for the world that they created, he was devastated while he was reading the petitions. And he asked the victims to not blame themselves and think that they were scammed because they were, lacking. That this is the unfair social system that created this, that couldn't control an individual's greed, that created the situation. So a lot of people were...
Park Ju-young. I want to say his name one more time because
a lot of
he's
people
a good
were
adult.
very, very touched. Some of the victims cried. So yeah, this is a great adult.
Right, because there's no way to compensate them, at least not right now, right?
Right, not immediately.
But words do matter.
And I think it is really important to let them know that it's not their fault because someone in their 20s and 30s, most likely they did blame themselves. Oh, I should have read the contract more carefully.
No, but people can get scammed at any age.
Right.
I mean, when the scammers, that's like their whole MO. Like they know what to say, they know what to do to deceive people.
Yeah.
So, yes. All right. Well, two happy, positive stories to round out our Friday. So thank you for that, and we'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great weekend.
All right. And now here is Nawan, hopefully with warmer forecast. Here she is.
Good morning again, everyone. It is currently 8:16. Here's your update on traffic and weather. The traffic is slowly filling up with congestion on Namhae Expressway from Namsanjeong Subway Station to Nakdong Bridge. It is a little bit backed up on Gwanmun-daero from Sujong Tunnel to Budu intersection. Likewise, it is moving slow on World Cup-daero from Yeonsan intersection to Nammungu intersection. So please drive safe. Jumping over to the weather, current temperatures are averaging -1 degree Celsius in Busan, with apparent temperatures of -5 degrees. Afternoon highs will go up to a warm 9 degrees. Clear skies are expected throughout the day, but despite the warm afternoon, don't forget to bundle up for chilly mornings and evenings. As for the weekend, it will be sunny with clear skies, with Saturday seeing the low of 0 degrees and the high of 9 degrees. Sunday will start Sunday will start slightly lower with a low of -1 degrees and a high of 7 degrees. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. That's all for now. Let's hand it back to Catherine.
How about this one? I Wish by Stevie Wonder. right, once again, that was Stevie Wonder. It's now time for our text topic one last time. So, Haley just told us of that judge. That's why we had the text topic of, what are the good qualities that make a good adult, a good grown-up. So that is our text topic for today. So what makes someone a good person, a good grown-up? And so in the beginning of the program, I said in Korean, 요즘에 진짜 좋은 진정한 어른이 있을까? That was kind of a question I posed. But apparently there are some, just like that judge. And I hope that even in our midst, just like, lay people, people, everyday people like you and me, that there are good ones among us. I certainly hope so. I'm a positive person, so I'm sure there are many, many good adults out there. But some of the attributes that you, the listeners, have chimed in about. So this waiver says a positive attitude. Oh, someone who has a positive attitude, that is very much an important thing. I do agree. And other attributes. William Waiver says, growing up, the image I had of a good adult was Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise. What makes a good adult? Someone who leaves kids with good feelings about themselves. Oh, that's a good one. Who kind of actually tries to parlay that positivity to other people, especially younger people. That's definitely a good adult. I agree with you as well. And with 태준 Waiver says, 완벽한 어른은 어디에 있겠어요? 보는 관점이 달라서요. 저에게 있어서 최대한 객관적이고 주관적인 어른은 엄마예요. 아직도 전화하면 애들한테 잘해줘라, 와이프 잘 챙겨라, 건강해라, 남한테 해코지하지 마라. 저도 우리 아이들에게 그런 아빠로 키우고 있습니다. This message. Tejan Waiver talks about his mother, saying, of course, is there a perfect or, a good adult out there? But his mother, when he speaks with her on the phone frequently, says to him, be good to your kids, take good care of your wife, don't be a nuisance to other people. And so that he tries to pass that on to his children as well. So there are lots of good people out there. Thank you for that. Very uplifting. I'll be back with our special interview. This is our special interview. Let me ask you this, waivers out there. Do you eat breakfast? Do you have breakfast? Do you skip it? Well, apparently skipping breakfast, has become a prevalent trend here in South Korea, where 34% of the population and a substantial 60% of individuals in their 20s, they choose to forego breakfast, the morning meal. And this has seen a consistent increase ever since 2019. However, this debate over the significance of breakfast in terms of nutrition endures. Is breakfast the most important meal of the day, as kind of, people of a certain generation, me included, we've been kind of, brainwashed into believing. Is it true? Well, we're going to find out. We have invited Dr. Courtney Peterson, who's an associate professor in the Department of Nutrition Sciences at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Let's see what she has to say. So let's say hi to her. Hi, welcome to our program.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, Professor, first question off the bat. Did you have breakfast today? I'm so curious.
I did. I ate around 8 a.m. this morning.
Oh, you did? Okay. I know that was quite personal, but thanks for answering it.
Yeah.
So, this idea of skipping breakfast, it's become so prevalent in modern times, whether it's kind of because the whole idea of, I just don't have time, I'm in a rush, or whether it's mindful, meaning maybe some people are practicing intermittent fasting. What do you say in regards to this, skipping breakfast, this phenomenon?
Yeah, so it's super interesting. Skipping breakfast has become so prevalent in modern times, and our modern society, I'd say a lot of it's due to the fact that we're so busy. We're running out the door in the morning. We're rushing to make breakfast. You know, if you have kids, you're trying to get your kids to school and so forth. And it's just not a priority for a lot of people. And more what we're seeing is people have erratic lifestyles. It used to be many decades ago, we'd eat 3 meals a day, we'd sit down and eat with our family, and that's not the case anymore. And we're finding that many people are eating 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day or more, especially among the younger generation. We see a lot of people just snacking throughout the day and not eating at consistent times. But the second reason is we're seeing more and more people are doing something called intermittent fasting. And the simplest definition of intermittent fasting is it's any time you sort of have an extended period of fasting, and you do that on some sort of regular basis. And the idea is that by fasting for longer, it kind of mimics what our ancestors did. They went without food for prolonged times. And what we find is if people tend to fast for longer, it looks like they might eat less and lose weight and or burn more fat. And so there's been a lot of excitement over intermittent fasting.
And so for those who maybe haven't tried intermittent fasting, can you go into detail as to what other benefits there might be? Because, I've done my fair share of reading into intermittent fasting, like the 16/8. There are like different versions of it. You can do every other day and whatnot. But how is that actually? How might that be good for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the basics. So intermittent fasting is defined as any time you fast for at least 14 hours or longer at a time. And this was based on a recent gathering of experts, both doctors and researchers, myself included, and we've centered on this 14-hour or longer definition. Now, there are many different types of intermittent fasting, and I like to group them into 3 broad categories. So the first category are types of intermittent fasting where you drink only basically water for 24 hours or longer. So you're having full day fasts. So an example of that would be the alternate day diet, alternate day fasting, I should say, where every other day you don't eat or where you fast 1 day a week. The second type of approaches are approaches where you eat either 1 meal a day or you eat a lot fewer calories than normal. So a good example there is something called the 5-2 diet, which is popular in particular in England, where you pick 2 days a week, where you eat basically 1 meal a day. And then the third type of intermittent fasting, the one that's most popular and the one that I study is known as time-restricted eating, but it's basically daily intermittent fasting. And what you do is you eat in a 10-hour or shorter period each day. So people have tried, 6-hour windows, 8-hour windows, and 10-hour windows. And we think there are a lot of different benefits for intermittent fasting. The biggest benefit we see is weight loss. And at least with daily intermittent fasting, that seems to be the most popular benefit that we see. And we think what's going on there is when people fast for longer, their body starts, after you're done digesting a meal, then you start dipping into something called your glycogen stores, which are kind of your sugar reserves in your liver. And then when you fast for longer, you start burning more fat. And so it looks like that fat burning has a couple really important benefits. So one, you're actually potentially losing more weight. But second, it looks like it actually keeps your hunger under control. So by having this kind of steady state where your body's burning a lot of fat, your blood sugar is not going all over the place, which reduces your hunger. But there are a lot of other benefits as well. It looks like with the longer fasting duration, it gives your body more time to excrete sodium that you eat, and that lowers your blood pressure. There's also evidence that it lowers inflammation in the body. We also see that it increases a certain process in the body called autophagy, which is recycling of worn out proteins. And we think that creates a rejuvenative effect. And we also see the activation of many anti-aging pathways.
Wow. So this isn't just like a fad, because you're one of the researchers into what this can potentially do in terms of benefits to everybody out there. But if we can go back to the whole breakfast issue, because I'm of that generation where like, you gotta have breakfast. Breakfast is the most important of the meal of the day. It gets your brain working and whatnot. So my mom used to kind of always insist, when I was little at least, that I needed to have a breakfast. But in terms of breakfast, whether to have it or to skip it, is there like empirical evidence that shows which is better one way or the other?
Yeah, great question. So this is like the million-dollar question in research. So what's super interesting is historically what we call epidemiologic studies, where you go out and ask people what they do. They show that typically people who skip breakfast have higher rates of cancer, hypertension, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. But it turns out like a fair number of these people who skip breakfast are also people who do overnight shift work and so forth. So what's been really interesting is there's been some work out of Japan that shows that about half of the people who skip breakfast, about half of people who skip breakfast eat dinner late, and they definitely have a much higher risk of these diseases, these chronic diseases. But the other half of people skip breakfast and eat dinner on a normal time, and they only have a slightly increased risk of some of these diseases. And so it may be actually more important what you do for dinner. But then on the other front, we've also, I don't know if you've heard of the old adage of eating breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper.
Right.
There have been some studies out of Israel showing that if you do eat most of your calories early in the day, you lose more weight. It reduces your hunger hormones. It also improves your blood sugar control. So it does seem like there's solid evidence that eating earlier in the day is better for your health. But then you have to think about the practical angle, which is probably most people aren't willing to eat most of their calories for breakfast or lunch. If you are, that's awesome. But if you're not, then I think skipping breakfast and doing intermittent fasting becomes an attractive approach. And what we're starting to see in the data is if you skip breakfast, as long as you're still eating dinner at a normal time, you're getting a lot of the weight loss benefits. So you're really not losing many weight loss benefits, but it looks like you're just not getting quite as much of the blood sugar benefits or the blood pressure benefits. And so what we're trying to find out in the field is how much of the benefits of intermittent fasting do you still get if you do the intermittent fasting by skipping breakfast? And we don't know for certain, but that's how it's looking like things might shake out.
Right. And like you said, that one study that you mentioned for a certain population, if you skip breakfast, then you might kind of, for whatever reason, work schedule, or maybe you're just not that hungry. And then you get towards, later in the day where it's like time to have dinner. And I think dinner can be so challenging on many different levels, Professor. Like, first of all, there are the social interactions, like whether you're coming together as a family or whether you have a company dinner or some sort of event that you need to attend. Especially if you're doing intermittent fasting, might it not be a little difficult to always turn down like, hey, I can't go out with you today because I can't eat. That's my window. I mean, how do we tackle those challenges?
Yeah, great question. So in our research, we often ask people to stick with their intermittent fasting diet about 6 days a week. So give them a break day to enjoy social occasions and eating out and so forth. So that's one trick we use. But I think it really comes down to a personal level. Different people are willing to do different things. And what's really interesting is if you look at this eating earlier in the day, a lot of that comes from what we've learned about something called your circadian system, which is your body's internal biological clock. And this clock produces 24-hour rhythms in your body that makes you better at doing different things at certain times of the day. So for instance, your best sports performance, greatest muscular strength is in the afternoon. Most fall asleep at night. Due to the release of a hormone called melatonin. But in most people, their best blood sugar control is also in the morning. And it's not true for everyone. We're not quite sure, what the situation is for shift workers or people with type 2 diabetes, but it seems like in most people, your best blood sugar control is in the morning. So there are some strategic things you could do. So for instance, you could still decide to have breakfast and try to eat an early dinner, or you could try to make breakfast and lunch the biggest meal of the day. And if those two are off the table, then maybe your third best option is to skip breakfast and then try to do intermittent fasting, but still move dinner earlier. But I would say, even though, social events are challenging, I think it's just empowering to know that, okay, when you eat later in the day, in most people, you have worse blood sugar control. So you can start to make decisions about that. So, and let me just say, some of that comes from the fact that you're about to fall asleep. And when you sleep, that elevates your blood sugar levels. And some of it comes from the fact that your body produces that sleep hormone melatonin, which raises your blood sugar levels directly. So you could even decide, okay, well, maybe I'll eat dinner an hour and a half earlier. And that's what I'm going to do. Or at least I will eat healthier when I eat dinner. So there's some research showing that when you think about eating healthy foods versus processed foods, the difference in how much more the processed foods spike your blood sugar is way worse at dinner. So if you're going to eat dinner, really double down and make that your healthiest, meal of the day.
That makes so much sense, and I think that's a great tip for us to kind of navigate all the ups and downs and the curves in our day, whichever way they may come. But thank you so much for coming on air with us to explain nutrition and also intermittent fasting to our listeners as well. Take care, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Listeners out there, waivers. I'm curious now, as for you, do you eat breakfast? Do you skip it? What does your eating look like throughout the day? So let me know. In the meantime, let's get to our song break. Here is Mes Emmerdes by Charles Aznavour.
J'ai travaillé des années sans répit, jour et nuit, pour réussir, oui, pour gravir, oh oui, le sommet. En oubliant souvent dans ma course contre le temps, mes amis, mes amours, mes emmerdes. Accord perdu, j'ai couru, assoiffé, obstiné, vers l'horizon, l'illusion, vers l'abstrait, en sacrifiant ses narrants, je m'en accuse à présent, mes amis, mes amours, mes emmerdes. Mes amis, c'était tout en partage. Tout. Mes amours faisaient très bien l'amour. Ah oui. Mes emmerdes étaient ceux de notre âge. Bien sûr. Où l'argent c'est dommage et peuronnait nos jours. Pour être fier, je suis fier. Entre nous, je l'avoue. J'ai fait ma vie, mais il y a je donnerai ce que j'ai, pas tout à fait, pour retrouver, je l'admets, mes amis, mes amours, mes emmerdes, mes relations sont vraiment haut placées, très haut placées, décorées, très décorées, influents, bedonnants, très bedonnants, des gens bien, très bien. Ils sont sérieux, trop sérieux, mais près de tout près d'eux, j'ai toujours le regret de mes amis, mes amours, mes emmerdes. Mes amis étaient pleins d'insouciance, oui. Mes amours avaient le corps brûlant, oh oui. Mes emmerdes aujourd'hui, quand j'y pense, avaient peu d'importance et c'était le bon temps. Les canulars, les pétards, les folies, les orgies, les jours du bac, le cognac, les refrains. Tout ce qui fait, je le sais, que je n'oublierai jamais. Mes amis, mes amours, mes emmerdes.
You're now listening to the world's most reliable morning show, Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Text in to BEFM pounder sharp 9050 for 101. You can also reach us for free through our YouTube live stream or on Kakao Talk. Begin your morning with Catherine, and don't forget to reboot your day after lunch. Stay tuned for Steve Hatherley Reboot every day from 2 to 4 p.m.
It's time for Newsfeed, which means Laura is here.
Hello,
Hey,
hello,
how
hello.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm just fixing my mic now that I've been asked to boost my seat again. Are you calling me short? Eh?
Is that what she's saying?
Is that what you're saying?
Silence, silence, silence.
Thanks very much.
Hey, so quick for our text topic.
Yes.
You're the final person I'm going to ask because
Okay.
you're the last one on air with me.
Yes.
So today we're talking about the attributes or qualities that go into making a good adult. Like, you know, how do you define a good grown-up, a good adult?
I don't know.
A good person.
I don't think that I'm an adult yet. I still feel
You're in
like
the process,
a kid.
like ing?
I think I'm always loading jung, right? I'm
Loading
always
jung.
trying to there's another obstacle that comes up and I'm like, who can help me with this? Uh-oh, I'm the adult. I've got to do it.
Right.
Right? So there's always a bit of that in my brain. But I think someone who's authentic.
Authentic. That's
someone who
important.
is mindful about their surroundings, aware of what they're doing.
I
and just
like
tries to
everything
not
that you're saying right
cause damage.
now. Oh, please, yeah. Like emotionally, physically, yeah. Let's not cause damage.
What about you? What did you say?
I didn't say.
So what
Thank
do you
you
think?
for asking. You're the first one who asked.
See, this is why you need me in on a Friday.
Right. Like with Haley,
morning.
I always have to tell her, ask me, Haley, ask me, because she's so busy. Like,
she's interested in what she wants to say. That's what it is.
No, but that's why we love her. She's such a talkative person.
I love
right?
you, Haley. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Right. For me, yeah, someone who, tries really hard not to hurt other people. Because it can be challenging.
Yes.
Whether you're in a conversation with your roommate, even with your kids, you know you're tempted, right, to say what you're really thinking.
And then you tama, and then
Of
you take the
course.
high road and
Yes.
you act with kindness.
But then I feel after I get over that little, I literally count in my brain something like in my mind, like, okay, count to 10. So I get to about 6 and then I already feel better. And then I take a breath.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of paraphrase what I was really thinking in my brain the
Yes.
first time. Paraphrasing is good.
And that's the thing. I think the distinction there is when you're younger and maybe not
Yes.
as mature. I don't want to say when you're a child versus adult, but when you're
just-
a bit less mature,
Yes.
you kind of have the feeling that you want to hurt someone.
Oh, yeah. Because you want to win everything. You want to win every argument.
And so you'll
To
say
show.
things
Yes.
just without thinking, and unconsciously you'll hurt them and you can't take that back.
And then I've learned through the years, sometimes, being mindful and waiting those 5-6 seconds and taking a breath and paraphrasing, that's
job.
actually winning.
Good
in
job.
the long
That
run,
is
though.
winning.
That is winning in the long run. And no one has to know except for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, hold it over everybody's head.
You can have all the swear words in your brain.
Yeah, but you cannot say
You
them.
just don't say them.
Yeah, there we go.
Say them in the car on the way home
To
to the black box.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, we have a mixed bag again this week. We don't really have a theme. The algorithm was nuts this week. So
Okay.
I think you get a pretty good look into what my brain enjoys because it's usually about contents or Squid Game or zombies or space, right? So I've tried to move away. But anyway, Newsfeed is all about me allowing my AI algorithm to choose the news for you. So
This week, what did your
question.
algorithm?
So we're going to talk about AI. How often do you use AI, Kat?
I don't know. I don't think I use it for work. Definitely.
So wait, the words you're saying are not your own?
Oh my gosh, no, no. Whether it's for school or for other, work stuff related stuff, I use it like, ChatGPT. I use maybe 2-3 times a week. What else? I think it just comes in little bits, though.
Yeah.
Like we use it without even really thinking nowadays. Like
It's
the
a great
bots.
organizational tool, right?
And like that come up, the prompts. I mean, we're using it inadvertently all the time, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's one place that has been really actively trying to integrate specifically ChatGPT into their system.
Okay.
It's the UK.
Oh.
And so an official UK government AI chatbot, they wanted to implement it into gov.uk, the official UK government website. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said, yes, let's do it. Let's benefit millions of people in the country. And there's been some issues. One of the issues was it keeps replying in French.
In the UK.
In the UK. So Anyway.
Oh, perfect. That song. What was it that we just played? And she's like, she was coaching me. She's like, say it this way. She knows French. I know.
Do you know French?
She would say it like this. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I was like,
Peter, how should we say it, Peter?
She's like, yes.
Yep. But anyway, this private pilot of this chatbot, it was called gov.uk chat, right? It was conducted, there was only 1,000 users for this pilot, but only 70% of them found it useful. 35% were not happy, so I don't know where that extra 5% is coming from.
The math doesn't add up, but that's 105 in my head.
That's 105%. However, maybe some of them were chopped up. Maybe some overlapped, who knows? But the chatbot didn't reach the required level of accuracy. And especially for a government website.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be like 100% accurate. So I think that's really bizarre. They're still testing it and there's no launch timeline. So they're still going to use it. But yeah, they were saying that a lot of the users were just putting their questions and answers in and just trusting this chatbot.
Oh, which you should never do, by the way. But
like, this is, and I think that's nuts because what we're doing now, because it's so ubiquitous, it's everywhere, we just expect it to be accurate.
But it's not.
But it's not accurate.
It is not.
Because it's
not
trained
100%.
on inaccurate information. It's trained on accurate information. Also,
what it does, it like, I'm not an expert, but it like scoops up and sweeps all the information. But there's so much misinformation out there that it includes the misinformation.
Yeah, absolutely. So the data office actually said to all of the users, do not use AI for healthcare specifically.
Oh my gosh.
Because this is not a doctor. Even if it's like a health, you can ask it about conditions,
right?
But it can't diagnose anything. And people have apparently been asking it to diagnose like WebMD. I'm just like,
everybody's used it at least.
Nuts.
I mean, I'm guilty of it too, though. Like, like I have certain symptoms, and I'm
sore
like
chest. I'm like WebMD.
I know, and I check it. I'm like, is it COVID versus flu versus
dying?
Cold, right?
I always think I'm dying.
Yes, don't do that.
The government in the UK is still trying to figure out how to make it work properly, and hopefully they'll get it to stop speaking French.
Yeah, that would help. Or you know what? Just nix it. If it doesn't work well enough, wait till it does. Because we're talking about the government. All right.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, I just want to mention this. I know you talked about it already, but I just want to bring my shock and horror.
About what?
About the green toothpicks.
I don't understand. I know certain things are trends on social media, but it's not food.
It's not food.
You use it to, pick your teeth or to eat fruit sometimes, but it's not food.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a social media trend, an SNS trend, where, those little green toothpicks, they're made out of starch or something. People have been deep frying them and eating them. Well, just want to emphasize that South Korea's Ministry of Food and Drug Safety said, do not do this.
Yes.
It's not safe.
Right.
Okay.
It's not food.
Like what? Okay, let's move on.
All right. Certain trends, just don't follow those kind of trends.
I just wanted to be outraged about that.
Ice
on
bucket
air.
challenge, okay. The old ones, those that make sense and do good, okay, but not that one.
Okay.
Next.
I got some very exciting news.
Yes, what is it?
Also about dangerous games. Squid Game. Second season.
Oh, it's coming? Because I don't know. The reality thing was okay, but not great.
Not so much?
Yeah.
I thought it was fun, but it was too much reality TV.
Right.
It was too many, this person's going to do this. Oh my gosh, what are they going to do? I just wanted to see people, actually do the challenges.
Right.
Anyway, the new season is coming nearly 3 years after its 2021 debut. Which was 9 episodes.
Yes.
It kind of broke the internet, right?
Right, it did. I admit, I binge watched.
Yeah. Me too. I didn't want to watch it at first. I was like, oh, what is this? Squid Game?
I know. But once you start, it's like...
Squid Game. And then the first episode, Lee Jung-jae's character was so annoying.
Right.
And I was like, ugh, I hate him. And then I was hooked.
Exactly.
Absolutely hooked. And so I had to...
Next, right?
Watch it all. And my husband was really angry. But it actually broke streaming records for Netflix, for Dengflix as well.
Yes.
And so it's coming. But they've also... released some of the new cast members.
Ooh.
So there's a trailer online. If you do want to see who the new cast members will be, they're bringing back some old favorites. Of course, frontman Lee Byung-hyun.
But not all of them, right?
Not all of them,
right?
Obviously, because many of them all of them died. But they've also brought back the police guy character. Now, if you've not seen Squid Game, then too bad. Spoiler alert. It's 3 years ago.
Right,
You're
right.
too late. But he falls off a cliff, right? He gets shot and then falls off a cliff. But in this trailer, maybe it was like fake news, but I saw he's back for the second season. So he survived. I'm so excited. I knew he was going to crack it. I knew it. So yeah, that's coming out soon. Also, other series like Bridgerton, Love is Blind, which we talked about last week, and F1 Drive to Survive. All of those great things to binge.
All right.
over the
And
next few
what's
months.
the final thing that popped up in your algorithm?
Okay, so this is so random. What would you say if I said to you, hell chicken?
Hell chicken?
Yeah.
Hell chicken? Not hell kitchen.
No,
hell chicken.
Yeah.
Like, here in Korea, it would be something like burning hot BTS. And I can't say what the BTS is on air.
Yeah.
Like chicken. Like
Yeah.
burning. Flame. Yeah, that's what I would think.
Sore bum chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So in Korea, it means a different thing, right? Hell chicken is like a different thing.
Yeah.
It means spicy chicken.
Right.
But it's not. They found a new species of dinosaur.
Oh.
And they've called it a hell chicken.
A dinosaur? Okay.
So the scientists have been asking, were dinosaurs already on their way out? Were they already moving towards extinction when this massive asteroid smashed into the world? 66 million years ago, by the way, if anyone's counting, which was ending the Cretaceous period. I don't know how much you know about the Cretaceous period. You're nodding and agreeing.
Yes.
So I assume everyone knows all about it.
Yes.
But anyway, they have debated if this is like the turn of dinosaurs being extinct. But then they found this new hell chicken species. And it was like this bird-like dinosaur. And it's called, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this, Ionophron infernalis.
Where was it found?
South Dakota.
Oh, in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're safe. The only hell chickens we need to worry about are the spicy ones from the
burn your butt.
Busan.
Yes.
But they decided there might be more undiscovered dinosaur species. So they're going to be like from that time period. So they're going to be looking, and hopefully this is going to give us more insight into how they died off, were they already dying off? Because at the moment, with climate change, with poaching, with just a lot of the issues that are facing the natural world, a lot of our species are dying out as well.
Right.
That we know. So it'll be good to be able to see whether, we can have a resurgence, not of hell chickens, but a resurgence of like wildlife, animal life, and if we can save it. So the scientists will learn a lot from finding these species, and hopefully they don't bring it back to life though. I don't want to see that. Or maybe I do. I don't know. Real life Jurassic Park?
Oh gosh.
Not bad.
I don't know.
No?
I don't worry about the dinosaurs. I worry about the people that, bring them back. Like just
To make the dinosaurs.
Yeah, that bring them back.
They're the real hell chickens.
We are the problem.
That's
We
true.
are.
That's
so.
true.
Anyhow, we're going to call it a wrap for your algorithm news feed, and I wish you a wonderful weekend, Laura.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, this was Laura once again. It's time to wrap things up for today, for the entire week. It's been a good one. It's been a really, really cold, freezing one as well. They say that it's going to warm up a teeny bit during the weekend, and I believe it's going to get cold again next week, but of course, I could be wrong. I'm not a weather forecaster. I wish you health, love, and lots of good times over the weekend. Here is... Oh, thank goodness. It's just a little French song, not in French. Carla Bruni. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Maybe démodé, me suis douce à fredonner. French song tender à l'envie, nostalgique à l'infini. Et quand on ne sait plus where to belong, try for a little French song. French song will take you to Paris, to Pigalle, l'île Saint-Louis. French song are dancing sous la pluie de Bastille aux Tuileries. Because we have de quoi frimer, we have Brassens, Brel and Ferré, we have Boris, Vian, Barbara, Gainsbourg, Trenet, Prévert, Cosma. Because we have de quoi choisir, we have Aznavour, Jenny, Beko, Nougaro, Moustaki, Edith, Piaf, Clo-Clo and Jenny. pas Duke Ellington, ce n'est pas Elvis ni Jackson, ce n'est pas Fitzgerald ou Armstrong, c'est just a little French song. Mais quand le chagrin reste tout long, moi je chante une little French song. Because we have de quoi frimer, we have Brassens, Braden, Ferré, we have Boris Vian, Barbara, Gainsbourg, Trenet, Prévert, Cosma. Because we have de quoi choisir, we have Aznavour et Jenny, Beko, Nougaro, Moustaki, Edith, Pierre, Clo-Clohan, Johnny. Oui, 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 qu'on soit de Londres ou de Hong Kong, qu'on soit Trois-Feuilles et Chobong, qu'on soit Djellaba,